Hey, ladies and gents. This is just me getting on right before you guys hear this upcoming Thanksgiving Day message. Really good one, I think. I think you guys will enjoy it. Just trying something a little bit new here. Normally, when I have a few missteps on my episodes here, I'll probably do one of these little commentaries just so that you guys know I am listening along. I'm not just speaking in the air. There was a short little deal there where I was telling a story about having a conversation with a Latina coworker, and we were speaking on language, things about language with being so close. Esposa, which means wife in Spanish, and espoba, which is a broom. So, of course, in every culture, each culture's got its own little deal there. But just going into that whole topic of equivocal, which again, if you guys are re-listening to this, and you've already heard it, but if you haven't yet, we'll get into the topic of that word there. So, I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you so much for coming along on this journey with me, and I won't end with the tagline, but thank you for listening to A Different View. Talk to you guys soon. Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome in to another episode, the Thanksgiving episode of A Different View. Ladies and gents, this is not going to be for the faint of heart. I am going to try to keep the colorful language to a minimum. If at best, I may put a content warning on what's said today, because it could get a little bit emotional. You guys have heard me on here for a little bit, ladies and gents, going back and forth as far as life, how we treat each other, what we do. The little excerpt that I've done on the holidays, us doing a way better job. You start to see maybe little bits and cracks of it, especially with how they've changed over now. Again, whether it's superficial or not is a whole other topic. But the idea of changing up the holiday decorations, the timing and the pattern of the holidays. See, again, a lot of people will get upset about it because they mentally, and this is where we're going to hop into this. See, a lot of the stuff with podcasts in general, whether it comes from the content of the creator that makes the podcast, or whether and also here, little quick plug, shout out to Spotify for podcasters. You guys are going to see me do this a bunch. It is what it is. Again, when you're talking about business, when we're talking about all these different thought processes, it is a thing where opportunity is necessary in order to give and gain profit and notoriety, then in turn gives profit and notoriety to the person who gave the opportunity. And unfortunately, because of things like sexism and ageism and racism, classism, many of these weird social constructs that people have made and manipulated, this is what we got. So again, shout out to Spotify for podcasters being allowing me to put this on the air here and air it all out, which is what we're going to do. So again, a lot of the content not only comes from the creator of the podcast, but from what you see day to day. So here's one of them. And this is where we're going to start off, because again, folks got to get you've heard me say it, and in the next couple of episodes here, because you got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas coming up. Maybe I'll do some things in the middle. You go into next year with all of the holidays that come around, whether it's Martin Luther King Day, and yes, to my black brothers and sisters, those again is the word they have used to call us, because they didn't have a word for us, so they just used black, unfortunately. They also lumped Europeans into it. See, because again, and this is also Sunday, by the way, so this is also the Sunday message. And we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive here, because again, biblically, the Bible was used here with Thanksgiving. Lord, how it was used and twisted, and it's sick. So for those who go to church, for those who are Catholic, Christian, all the different denominations of Christianity here. And again, we only think of the ones on this side of the pond, as they say. Again, England's got a lot to do with this here. Europe's got a lot to do with this here. So we're talking about those churches on the other side. Play this in your congregations. You're going to have some folks getting mad, but it's okay because, again, it's about healing. It's about healing. Judgment needs to start in the places of holiness first. That's a very, very true thing. The Bible literally says it. The judgment needs to start in the house of God. So that's where we're going to start. That's where we're going to start, folks. It's time for those who believe in something. And now again, we talked about this before. Specific speech and general speech. So specifically speaking to Christians, it's time to drop the facade. Okay? We're not playing up here for votes. We're not playing up here for dollars. This is about doing right toward people. And we have played the pauper too long. And again, like I said, specific speech and general speech. So while I'm speaking specifically, this also goes out to every person of belief that believes something, whether you believe in nothing. It's time to stop playing the game here, folks. It is not helping us. And I apologize if I get a bit passionate about it, but again, y'all got to understand a little bit of my background. I grew up in the church, as they say in the South, on the street. I grew up in the church house my whole life. And like I said in the last couple of episodes, there's a lot of these things that I have learned over time that I'm learning just now at 43. It is a shame for anyone who knows any knowledge about how life is going, and they are not teaching this is about the dynamic between parents and kids. What you guys are going to hear me reference. See, it's not just I don't just talk about one topic. I got a lot. There's a lot here. We need to really start teaching our kids about relationships. We need to start teaching our kids about, and these are some of the topics that'll be around the Thanksgiving Day table. And I'm doing it today because I know it's going to happen. Down the road here, we're going to get caught off in consumerism. We're going to get caught off in obesity, because let's just be honest here, the food we're cooking, and we're going to get into a little bit of food here with Thanksgiving and some original dishes. There's a reason, folks. We need to get away from, and we were taught. Some of this is our own doing, but we were taught how to eat so horribly. Let's just be honest. When you got fried this, that, and the other in front of you, and this is specifically to my black brothers and sisters, and I stand in solidarity. I always will. Guys, it's no good. There is some holiness to it because many of those dishes we learned during our ancestors during such a horrible time on this nation that was secondary action, or maybe even kind of tied in with the first and original action of such horror and genocide. Such horror and genocide. Like, you can't even deny it. If you do, you're not even paying attention to the game. At the end of the day, folks, this mess was wrong. Now, this was one of my original notes here. Y'all gonna hear me flip pages because I got notes everywhere. You guys know me and my notes. But at the end of the day, things were twisted horribly out of place. I was talking about this with Veterans Day. The notions of holiness, of things like defense and protection, twisted so that you could have the army involved in forcefully moving people lost their minds on what happened in 2020. Guys, the U.S. government is astute in being very, 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 very mean. See, again, you're dealing in some things here that a lot of us are learning on the back end, but many have already grown up in said knowledge because it gets passed down. That's what I'm saying about parents need to start talking to their kids about relationships, need to start talking to their kids more about sex in all of its variety. And we will get into a lot of these topics come Valentine's Day. That one will definitely have an explicit content rating on it. Because unfortunately, certain things have to be said. Certain things have to be said in a way for people to understand it. In a way that's on their level. So this idea that came across here, we're just gonna we'll hop right on into this. That this land was either conquered or stolen. That it wasn't both. That you cannot conquer and steal something. To the definitions of the so many times, folks, a lot of people are saying a lot of stuff here without taking the time to look at certain words and phrases. And it's okay. Everybody, and this is a lot of what you're going to hear from me, folks. See again, and this initial note here with Thanksgiving, y'all, and honestly, the holy notion of giving thanks is a real thing. See, unfortunately, it was twisted by Puritans and pilgrims and European settlers. Lord, the word it's used. Now, I'm going to get into that wordage. I'm going to get into how they did it and how people operate today in that type of horrible language. See, guys, when you start studying about the language of the world, so remember I told you got to come away from these four coasts. You got to start learning certain things. Learn about different tribes and how they speak, different people on the planet and how they speak. There's a certain way that they talk. Their languages sound different than the one that we have learned from jolly old England. That's why it's good to come away from certain speech. And people will flip out because they've subscribed their mind to there's a certain way to speak. You have a certain way to act, manners, right? Which most of these manners we learned from England. See, again, folks, when people talk about how free they are, and we get into this every time there's a military holiday or something about this nation. When we talk about free, you don't understand that you're operating under the rulership. You kind of morphed it a little bit, right? Because the colors in the flag don't look exactly like Union Jack, but man, they're close. We already talked about how the national anthem is the song, the rhythm is from a English pub song. Guys, you got to come to certain gravities about certain things. See, again, what do you believe? So when you talk about patriotism and nationalism, especially United States, it's less United States and it's more English nationalism and patriotism. You're owned. I don't know how else to say that. And I think it's best that it's just said that way. There's a level of ownership here, guys. Even speaking biblically. And this is good that it's on Sunday because I get to crisscross back and forth a little easier. Talks about how your body is not your own. See, you have a level of freedom, but it's freedom with responsibility. Which is why it's wrong why people keep kind of trying to knock down other people's freedoms, thinking that theirs is evil or wrong or sinful. It has to do with responsibility. And again, we're going to get more into it come Valentine's Day. But again, folks, you got to use a level of responsibility. You can't be having 19 babies all over the place. I'll say it that way. And again, while it is there and all that type of thing, you can't have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 19 girlfriends everywhere. You can't. It's hard to even love just you, much less another person. And you're going to spread it out to how many? Oh man! And again, it's just put a pin in that before you start doing the judging thing. Just put a pin in that part of the conversation because it's an incomplete thought. It's only a partial thought. We will get into the rest of it comes Valentine's Day. But here is this thing that you can't conquer and steal. So conquer. The definition of conquer, overcome. I got to stay on point here because we got a little bit to cover. Overcome, and take or take control of a place or people by use. Now here's the thing, right? Because one is force, right? It's the conquer part is the force part. So you couldn't possibly use force yet when you're stealing, right? Let's see. So by use of military force, overcome, take control of a place or people by use of military force. These are all the definitions, by the way, right out of the Oxford Dictionary. I didn't even get into the etymology of the word yet. And some of these words that I'm going to talk to y'all about, again, we'll leave a little bit homework. Go look up the etymology of some of these words I use. And the definitions of them is going to drive the points home a little more. So here's the next one. Successfully overcome, aka a problem or weakness. Successfully overcoming a problem or weakness. Now, can someone please tell me, when Europe came to these lands, what problem or weakness did they have to overcome? One was about religious freedom. And we're going to get into how much of a farce that was with that religious freedom thing. Because again, like I told y'all, we use and bend holy notions, or evil, greed, uses and bends holy notions, twists them a little bit to make it look like it's all right, when in reality, it's all wrong and it needs some correcting. So successfully overcome a problem or weakness. And I think now, Conquer's getting a little interesting, because you can successfully overcome something without using force per se, right? You don't have to punch your way through everything or shoot your way through everything. We keep talking about gun control, so we'll just leave that one there. The state or condition of weakness. Okay, it's breaking down the word weakness now. The state, or on your phone, by the way, you'll see certain words underlined when you look up a definition of a word. Tap on them every once in a while, because they'll give you clearer meaning. You can transpose the definition you see of that word into the actual sentence, and many times it makes clear sense. The state or condition of lacking strength. So let's back up. Successfully overcoming a problem or something that is in the state, or that's what weakness is. The state or condition of lacking strength. So I wonder when in history did people say folks were weak or frail? Yeah, that would be back then. In many accounts you read, this is how they used to look at native people on these lands. By the way, side note, because we're talking about back in 1621, that's the good old first Thanksgiving. That's only a few years removed from the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade. See, again, guys, I told you, when you see one thing, something's been happening behind the scenes on the other. We really do have to start putting the two and two together before we talk on stuff. And that's why when you speak on the U.S. government, see, one of these things people always go back, it's not 1776 anymore. No, everything, including the Mayflower Compact, all is designed. Because again, that Mayflower part is part of Thanksgiving, the establishment of this stuff here. See, again, if my people are called by my name, return or repent or revolt against their wicked ways, I will be there and help heal their land. That's what it says in the Chronicles. I paraphrase it a little bit, but that's what it says in the Chronicles. See, again, when you see that word repent, look at all the words that are attached to the word repent. You got to use the English language here, and again, I'll get into the type of language it is here in a second. Let me continue. You got to use it to your advantage, folks. You got to see the other side of the thing. Again, to just get a full view. So, hey, on the back end, you're seeing all this, you still want to look at it a certain way, go for it. But at the end of the day, have the knowledge. Have the knowledge. And maybe it will help in certain instances. Maybe it won't. Equality or feature regarded as a disadvantage or a fault. So now we're getting even deeper. To to successfully overcome something that has a quality or feature regarded as a disadvantage or a fault. Now, you know, and I know, just from speaking on those of African descent, as I like to say, because we have yet to find out a word for what they wanted to call folks who are Aboriginal, for those who are indigenous, because again, when they speak on indigenous, indigenous means all of the people who were living on a certain land. And again, when you do anthropological studies, you start to find out a whole lot of stuff that's not propaganda, that's not an agenda. See, we broke down these words before. That we're just talking about history here. We're talking about who was here. See, again, you got to twist and manipulate on many levels here to discredit so that you can take. That's one of them. If you don't know what peoples were here, guess what? Free land, ain't it? Or maybe the thing that was done wrong doesn't look that horrible. And most of the time people do that type of they do that type of stuff in an attempt to get away from how horrible something actually is. No, folks, we need to start grasping how horrible stuff was. See, that's the problem. We keep running. And then thinking it's going to get better. Can't folks see what insanity actually is? It's mental conditions. This is why mental health is very necessary, folks. As much as it is being in the gym and looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger and stuff like that, got to get your mind just as good looking. And many people's actions are coming from their thinking that is highly unexercised. I'm sorry, but it's just the truth. We've all seen it. We've all seen it happen. Whether we've been on the road driving, you know there's people not paying attention on the road. You know it. And for many different reasons, they're not paying attention, but still, they're not. So again, disadvantages and faults, whether it's strong, smart, skinny, tall, short, fat, all of those things that they regarded as disadvantages or faults. So now you successfully overcoming that. You conquer it. So there's conquer, right? Let's go to the etymology, because I like putting the nail in the coffin on a lot of this stuff. Because again, you pay attention long enough and you see how many excuses people keep using the things. And while, again, your choice, just consider something else here. Concurrere, and I apologize if my Latin is horrible here. Funny how they keep saying that Latin's a dead language, and yet all of the words that we use today, how dead can a thing be if it's actually based on it? But I digress. So basically, the chiere part in that, to seek. Conquere, gain or win in Latin. I guess they put the word together. They spelled it a little different because one that I had found, Conquaere. And then the next one was Conquirere. That word in Latin means to gain or win. Interesting. Now, see, hear how it comes together a little bit? So gain and win, you can definitely gain something by stealing it. Couldn't you? Of course you could. See how just doing the studies on these words here? And I haven't gotten into steal yet. Old French, same thing. Gain or win. They spell a little different. Conquerre. I guess they didn't like the way the other word was spelled, so they just flipped the R's. Oh, man. Anyway, it was funny. I was looking at a thing one day, talking to somebody about it. This is an odd thing, because this is in the beginning of me just seeing how life is actually horribly different than what they're telling us it is. So you got the word, and for my Latin folks out there talking about Latin, shout out to my Latin listeners, those from Puerto Rico and Dominican and South America, wherever your ears may hear this in your native tongue. It's another thing about native tongues, man. What a powerful thing, and what a thing people don't know because they had it ripped from them. And I posted something up on my page that I found from somebody where this show and that's why I don't watch it. So Yellowstone, I guess the frontierers struggle. You wouldn't have had a struggle if you'd have stayed over in Europe. I apologize, folks. If you had not have followed the lies of the Puritans and the Pilgrims using the Bible to tell you you had rights to these lands. Jesus. You wouldn't have had the horror and the struggle you had, but you know why? Because you walked into that's why it's important the people you're around. They carry aura on them, folks, and you gotta stay away. You gotta stay away like nobody's business. And you will get yourself caught up in something and look down the road sometimes as quick as a couple of days and be like, what is going on? That's because their evil energy they operating in, whether willingly or unwillingly, or knowingly or unknowingly, they don't realize how horrible it's messing with their life. You better be careful. Come out from among them and be ye separate. This is from God talking. This isn't from me. There's a reason. Do not be unequally yoked. I'm going to get more into that in Valentine's Day, but we're just going to stop right here. Everybody bashes people from a different culture, from different culture. Well, they bash them from a different culture, but different belief. So check this out. The Christian, Baptist, whoever, I mean, heck, the way they get with it, it'll go as far as to Baptist not being with the Presbyterian, but I digress. At the end of the day, do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. This does not mean the Christian to the Buddhist, folks, or folks like to go all the way with it. So this doesn't mean the Christian to the Satanist or the atheist. That's not what they're talking about solely. The idea is being unequally unequal. One, take the word unequal, then yoked, and then unbeliever. That's people who don't believe. Do you know how many unbelieving believers are out there? A lot. This is the Bible talking now. See again, we take one thing that we think it's saying and make it for everything, and that's not even what it's saying, which is why you need to constantly keep going back to restudy. You got a lot of people out there. That's why the Bible is full, especially, and it's funny, right? So you got the 10 Commandments, and you got this, and you got that, and everybody telling the do's and don'ts. And then as soon as you go over to the New Testament, you got the same amount of do's and don'ts almost. I wonder why. Because people need it. That's why. Because they go too far out of control. You see the story of Ananias and Sapphira in Acts. Why is it there? Because you have people who are these loving, believing, put on the Sunday dress thing, and they treat people like absolute garbage in any retail store in America's employees and and bosses will tell you. They have watched some of the most horrific stuff happen from those who say they love or believe in something, whether it be God, Shiva, Buddha, it does not matter. See, it does not matter. And to get yourself in order, you got to come back to your spiritual base. Love for people, dealing in honesty. Hebrews talks about dealing in honesty. As a matter of fact, I'm going to stop right here because little flip here. Like I said, it's the Sunday message. So I got my Bible open. You guys can follow along on your phones or however you need. Again, it's really cool that things are in phone now. You don't even need to open the book, but it's good. It's good. It's good to have the book opened. Let's see. I misplaced it. Oh well. There's always room for these things. Got to be able to roll with the ups and the downs. So it speaks on dealing honestly with folks. And I'll have it, if anything, if I don't post it on the actual on this post, I'll re-reference it again in another one, because I always like again, I'm not going to say something that I'm not doing. So we'll make sure that we find that here. But it deals in dealing honestly, and that is the real huge issue. As if folks stop dealing honestly in things. How in the world can you get to a level of healing if you're always going to be, as they say it in the street, fronting? How do you do better if you're never going to really actually push yourself to do better, or front, or be dishonest with yourself? Which is where you get into this whole idea of not being unequally yoked. Because you've got people, you want to live a life that's honest. You want to do better. Could be about anything. Finances, weight, mental health, physical health. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? And then you got other people that are okay skating through it. You can't be, and then you're going to try to date them? How are you going to try to date those people? Nothing wrong with them. This is how they think. But does it mesh with what you're doing? And this is why it's so horrible. And again, I'm bleeding over into a different episode here. But this is why it's so horrible, why folks don't really talk to their kids. They're very superficial in talking to their kids. And it's time we start learning about relationships, listen to all these different podcasts and stuff out here putting this information out, folks. Especially in this busy society we live in, where you can't actually go to a building and sit down from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and learn something at a class and stuff. They're making it that way on purpose. Just like now when you walk into Walmart, you've got what do you call them? You've got robotic vacuums, or however they rig their floor cleaning things. So instead of people doing it, it's actual just a thing. This constant cutting out of the workforce is very serious, folks. I don't know how else to say it. And the only way you stop is by people standing up. The only way Labor Day came to be is by people standing up together. It doesn't happen with one or two people. You got to get involved in your community. You got to, or else we face some serious issues. And the idea is to be able for our kids, when we're dead and gone, for them to be able to get these jobs. You know, again, we spoke on how burger places and how they're making them and stuff like that. But again, to be able to get the job where you can start making some serious money and get yourself as a young person in a good place. That's why don't be mad with these kids don't want to work in all these places. Why do we waste our time being mad at the youth for doing the thing that we didn't do? Where we took the base job because they wouldn't give us anything better. They also corrupted the educational thing, that the average Joe couldn't get jobs and proper care. Guys, you got to look at this thing a little differently. And I get it. Because there's a lot of pride involved. There's a lot of hurt there, right? You went through a lot of mess. And there is something to the holy notion of being able to take whatever job necessary to get through. But as the foundation, as the thing, this is what we do, no, they left you the scraps. That's the point. And when you're talking about each generation being better than the next one, which is the point, I want the generation after me better than me. It's not so I can show them off at some beauty pageant somewhere. And again, see, everybody's got certain defenses in their minds preset here. I'm not saying it's wrong for you to take your kids to beauty pageants, okay? We're talking about where you go too far with something. Again, do not think more highly of yourself than you ought to think. There's a balance. This balance that was broken here in Thanksgiving, in the creation of this land, this nation, whatever you want to call the United States. So now I ask the question of on, gain, and winning. Now, we done found out what conquer's really meaning here. How did those of European descent conquer all this? Because you got a lot of folks on these lands. You know, it wasn't like 3 in the number that they put out there. You got a lot of folks out here. They were learning and documenting numbers as they got them. Columbus seeing over in the Indies, where he got the word Indian from because he was in the Indies. So now you just call, he's almost like the Oprah of naming people incorrectly. You're an Indian, and you're an Indian, and you're an Indian. Everybody's an Indian. They got names. They belong to tribes. They're native to these lands. Again, whatever people want to say, y'all say what you want. Say what you want. I'm not this, but again, we're just talking about seeing something else here. Steal. Taking another's property without permission or legal right. That's why they made those laws like the Mayflower Compact and the Constitution. Sorry, not the Constitution. That was a little bit different. That's a whole other different ball game there. What's the one I'm thinking of? I forgot what the other document was. Well, it'll come back to me. Without permission or legal right, and without intending to return it. There you go, folks. You can conquer, you can overcome something, you can gain and win something through taking someone's stuff, and even them, in the case of dealing with those who trick people into human trafficking, you can even do it with people. Of course, we're speaking more on actual things. Without permission or legal right. Again, this is why they made up certain rules and law. Manifest destiny, that was the other one. Human memory is awesome. Anyway, manifest destiny and the Mayflower Compact. Things like eminent domain, garbage that Europe made up. So they can come over here and say this was theirs, using God. Oh yeah, God gave me rights to someone else's stuff. But wait, in the 10 Commandments, it talks about not taking people's stuff. And that's where we're going to get into this. Let me just put this in right here, because this is a good place to put this. The type of language pattern used in the U.S. comes from Europe, and it's called equivocal. Y'all can look this up now while I'm saying it. Equivocal, E-Q-U-I-V-O-C-A-L. For those who do not know what it means when you can take one word and have it mean something else. Now, you put the 2 and 2 together if you have the ability, if you've based your language off of talking like that. All nations of this planet do not talk that way. Those words they actually mean those words. It doesn't mean 14 other things. You don't have, let's see, what's some of them? There. T-H-E-I-R, T-H-E-R-E. Then you've got the apostrophe version. Like, and no wonder you got that many versions. Like you have that many versions of the Bible. No wonder folks can't learn what's going on. No wonder. In an attempt to, specifically with biblical interpretation, to help people. Now, again, you got to understand, going back into 1611, right around all the time of all this mess happening here, King James over in jolly old England wanted his own Bible. This was a man who is documented to have loved lovers. Now, don't you think, male lovers, excuse me, don't you think that a jilted lover, just Could this thought possibly ever pop up in the minds of people? Don't you think someone who is a jilted lover, I know it happens with women all the time, any female hearing me on this, I bet you they know, and they would pull something like this. You would put in some book that is supposed to affect a lot of people around you and around your circle. Because see, again, we're talking about the Church of England. We're talking about the things going on back then. The Roman Catholic Church is what we're talking about, folks. Europe, okay? Wouldn't you put something in there where somebody not supposed to be lying with someone else? No man with a woman and a woman with a man. Just a thought, folks. Just a thought. See, again, I re-referenced this statement. People have been putting things that they say are right and wrong, when in reality they're not right and wrong. They're just not cool for them to do. And guess what, folks? That's okay. You have been given the ability to choose. Of the many abilities humans have, serious, cool, awesome abilities that humans have, one of them is the ability to choose. You can choose. So again, if you think homosexuality is wrong and a lot of these other things, that's all right. And this is also a conversation folks would have around their Thanksgiving table. Actually, most of them don't go this deep because they just stop at a certain place they don't know any better. Then they get into arguments and act rude and fools to their families and then further divide that which needs to be united. But we won't go there. We'll just leave that right there. Oh, man, the damage is going to be done around the Thanksgiving table this year. Older people making fun of one of their nieces or great-granddaughters or granddaughters' weight. Somebody talking about how dumb the other one is. The husband down in the wife in classic Adam Eve fashion. The wife firing back at the husband. Just looks like war. Both worried about what's going over in the Middle East and Europe. Oh, man, you got this stuff going around people's dinner tables, man. We talking bombs, missiles, what they call one of them back in the Gulf War, the Patriot. Funny how you call that. But anyway, like all this kind of garbage, man. Garbage. When in reality, this thing was like Halloween was a time of thanking and giving thanks to the great creator for the harvest you pulled in. Lord, why folks, this is the most holy time. And here you got two of the three major holidays around this time of year, steeped in violence and just mean girl hate. It's gross. It's gross. We ought to be thankful we got through another year. Thankful we didn't die from these bullets that have been put into our neighborhoods designed to kill us. Thankful that the 19,000 cheeseburgers that we eat from a place didn't have us have a stroke this year. Thankful that we got a promotion. Thankful that we had kids. Thankful that we were fathers and mothers to people who had no fathers and mothers. I'm talking about step-parents. Thankful that we have a voice and we can speak out against wrong when we see it, like calling out this garbage that is Thanksgiving. You talk about National Indigenous Remembrance Day. That's what this holiday needs to turn into. That's what this holiday needs to turn into. So, intending to return it, as far as the word still goes. Sorry for the rabbit trail. That's another one. Rabbit hole. Have you looked at the term? No, you want to be careful doing all this kind of stuff. Blah 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 blah. Because you'll be going down the rabbit hole. It's the rabbit's home. And maybe people need to leave and disconnect from a lot of this mess and go back to certain places in their mind that is home. Places of comfort. Leave behind all this war-torn garbage that is started because somebody's fighting over getting stuff they can't keep after they're dead anyway. without legal right or intending to return it. Intending, planning, or meaning to do the specified thing. So this is like on purpose. This idea where with these treaties and stuff that happened at the beginning around this feast, and that's without getting into the green corn. Some places called the Green Corn Massacre. Green Corn Festival technically is what it is. Again, we're talking about a festival. Happens before November, but again, they hold these festivals at different times, specifically this one here, where you got a whole village of folks, the Pequot tribe. That's another thing. Do a study on the Pequot tribe and the Wampanoag tribe, if I'm saying that correctly. For those native listening on this episode, my apologies if I'm saying it wrong. The ancestors of my Cherokee grandmother would probably get really mad, but we have to understand here that there's bigger world around us. You know, sometimes in some of these tribes here, like I'm going to get into about food here in a minute, because we like to eat, and it's good. It's good to eat. I like to eat. As a guy who's trying to lose weight, I like eating, man. So ain't nothing wrong with the eating, you know? Ain't nothing wrong with the eating. Kind of like that, like I mentioned before, that whole Shirley Caesar thing. You got your greens, beans, tomatoes, yams, corn, whatever you got for me. Thanksgiving, man, bring it down. I'm ready to enjoy. Okay, that's the other thing. Realizing that many of those dishes we eat, they're very native. In turkey is, cranberries are, right? The yams, potatoes are like that. And, you know, yams, sweet potatoes. You got a lot of stuff there, folks. Native in culture. This is remembrance time. See, because again, if you can do something to one group of people, you can do it to them all. I don't even know how else to say that, man. And again, you set the precedent for just kind of blowing by this thing. What else are you passing up on with yourself? This is a chance of remembrance. Do this in remembrance of me. No different. That's why let go a lot of that petty stuff in the past, man. Start uplifting your families instead of tearing them down. You go back into something here. We're going to leave this here just as a mental thought. So we talked to you before about the Berlin Conference back in the day, how nations of Europe decided how to divide up Africa. Do you know, I want to say it was a little bit later in time. I apologize on the dates. That the Badung Conference, I do believe it is spelled Badung conference, was held where you had people of those of black and brown skin tone, or excuse me, brown skin tone. Those of African descent and other nations of the world held their own conference on how to enrich themselves. This is the point, folks. If you got somebody attacking you, trying to hold you down, guess what you open up on the back end? Folks trying to protect themselves. This is why when you talk about violence, you got to be careful in how you speak about it. If the one opened up the other door, don't you think that what was going to happen the other way around would have been something like it, at the very least? So somebody throws the right cross, somebody's getting hit with a left jab. I mean, this is, hello? Again, too many times people keep trying to play God here instead of doing what is spoken about in the Bible, which is be the peacemaker. It's time for folks to step in the middle and make serious legislations and such, where we get better work protections for our workers, so workers' rights, where immigration is something that is protected, and not only just immigration, but also the people that are already here. It's time to have serious, grown-up, level-headed conversations here where we're thinking through these things. Because otherwise we're allowing greed to just take hold and go on, and nothing will be left for anybody at the end of it, folks. That's how it works. That's how it works. There is no one. There's no, the top one are not exempt from this. The bottom 90 whatever. No one, folks. No one escapes when you're operating in games of greed and evil here. Settlers started dying from diseases that they got by coming here, dealing with natives, and them bringing diseases and just that's what most of those treaties and stuff are for. Helping us stay alive so we could keep taking from you and quote unquote making it look like, yeah, hey, we're here for you too. Natives found out real quick that was wrong though. They found out real And my apologies for laughing through it, but it's sad, man. Like I put up this thing on my Facebook page. I was talking about it before, where you got this sister, and that's why I don't watch. That's why I don't watch this. I can't watch. I think it's called Yellowstone. Excuse me, Yellowstone. I can't, y'all. It's too much. Knowing how hard this mess was, man. This was garbage. Like getting through the movie Judas and the Black Messiah was tough for me. It's rough, and I need to watch it. Don't get me wrong. It's just tough. To tell me that as a Catholic minister, let's get real, because this not racism, this sexism in the church is sick. I'm call it what it is. Y'all, you can get to your pastors, have them write me notes. I don't care. It is racism, but no, specifically sexism, rampant in the scripture, rampant in the language. You see it. Ain't all he's going on and just the women in the back. Can't folks see that is their societal ills leaching through the translation of the scriptures? It's clear as day. It is clear as day. So this female minister, they go in Catholic Church, they call them sisters. Again, servants of the faith, right? Still ministers on a certain level here, okay? They may not be priests and such, but still ministers of the gospel on a serious level. She's sitting here whooping this native girl for not being able to say the word alkaline, I believe. I'm talking about whooping them hands to the point the pain of the whooping got her to speak in her native tongue. Lord, I wish I knew what my native tongue was. Man. Not this English I speak. And again, people use a lot of humor to get away from very serious stuff, man. But your friends and stuff around you, what culture was wrong? From you yourself. Because again, England used England as collateral. That's what the Revolutionary War was for. They already had this stuff. It wasn't for freedom. What freedom? There was no freedom involved. What, for one group of people to be free to come over here and continue to live on conquered and stolen land? There's no freedom there. Don't people see the bamboozle they use? This is how horrible it is with greed. This level of evil, folks, all the way to death. You would kill your own to protect the right to take from someone else. That's wild, man. That is wild. And when that thought hit me a long time ago, man, that brought me to my knees. Cried like a kid. At the horror that people have, that our ancestors set up for us to have to overcome now. Both were used to obtain an evil objective. It was not one or the other. The truth is the holy notion of giving thanks. Now, when you talk about giving thanks, it means the expression of gratitude, especially or specifically to God. But now let's get down to gratitude, because we're talking about expression. Since we're on the Sunday message, we're talking about worship, because I know I got a bunch of folks here where they get into this type, especially charismatic Christians. Everybody they get wild with that word worship, with the word worship. Worship simply means how you express. Now, we're just talking about the definition of worship. Expressing gratitude. Expressing the joy and the excitement. The overture, if you will, as to what you believe in. That's it. It's just how you express. It's how you express. As the song goes, express yourself. That's just what it is. The quality of being thankful, readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. See, again, we're talking about the part that is missing. Why the world looks like it is. It's out of balance because the kindness is gone. We put it down, I should say. It's not gone. We put it down. for things like likes and views, for things like money, for things like whatever, will go into debt even for, and just practice wrong financial life, for cars and all, just, and houses. People have these huge, you don't need all that, folks. Think about how it was on these lands. Now again, you have it. Hey, rock with it, enjoy it, roll with it. That 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, I came from a house like that, okay, y'all? I understand. But again, in the grand scheme of it all, is that what you need to operate on a day-to-day basis and raise a family? People need to actually buy homes to what kind of family and finances they're going to do. Same talking about that equal yoke thing. You want 3 kids and she don't want, and shit. Hey, you better find you somebody wanting babies, because it's not working the other way, man. It's not forcing the other person. You're just gonna cause more problems. And this is why people need to speak on dating more. You need to date. You know, talking about language you have around the Thanksgiving table. So we're just gonna drop some good old knowledge to you. Uncle KJ gonna talk to you for a second. Okay? Date, folks. Date, folks. Doing this, saving yourself there, and again, while it's all right, and you can, and it's cool, there's nothing wrong with it, okay? But the other side of it is you must understand how you gonna know who you like unless you know who you like. Now, again, if you say you can get there through friendship, you know what I'm saying, this, that, and the other, hey, go for it. But again, that idea of being with somebody on the 24/7, you got to date someone. Get used to the gift giving, and again, some people, they cool with it. They got that part of it. All right, hey, guess what? This is not for everybody, man. And that's what's awesome about how God has done this, because it's not a box, folks. It's not a box. It's a whole multiverse. Talking about Marvel and stuff like that, man. Like, Marvel's doing this thing right now. That movie, The Marvels, was a really good movie. It's a really good movie. It's set up for a whole lot of stuff. I mean, Marvel is doing this thing right now. Loki was an awesome TV show about the collateral damage people do when they try to control so much. Got to stop all this control. I did not say you let go and release and relinquish responsibility. We talking about control. 2 totally different things. We got to get back to a place of, again, like what it talks about with Thanksgiving, kindness, honesty, like that verse I couldn't find in the Bible here. Honesty. You hear people with a lot of, and again, equivocal, that's why natives call folks who are European people with forked tongue, because you were constantly talking double speech. You see it in contracts. You see it all over the place. What do you think that up and up to termination means when you look on most contracts anywhere when you get a job? Why do you think they do that? Now, when you're in a union, you don't see that kind of stuff. And folks want to start talking about that union talk, how evil it is. Hey, listen, the checks and balances need to be checked and balanced, right? So if that's the case, then at the end of the day, get involved in your union. See, again, this still comes that this don't happen automatically, or don't happen through 1 or 2 people. We got to get involved. And that's what brings community together. Not about hate, not about people different in this and stuff like that. Get involved. There's a little side note on this whole thing with families and how it's going to be during the holidays. Remove the family strife, or work on it at the very least. I understand there's some stuff there. Because again, we're not talking like, molestation, even though that's part of it there, a little harder. Okay. When you're talking about aunt, uncle, whoever, mama, daddy, somebody raped somebody's kid, niece, and all of this kind of stuff, again, you get to the part where it's starting to get removed. You got to get the healing with it. It affects you. You're connected to your family. Even if you stay away from them like forever, except for the holidays, you're connected to them. You're connected to him. Help each other where you're weak on it. Some hurts are real deep, man. Some hurts are real deep. Especially in cultures where family really, really means something. You know, like Italians is for real. Africans is for real. Those of Latin culture is for real. Of course, Jewish people. Like sometimes these hurts go so deep, man. But you gotta be careful just throwing them to the wolves. Ain't nothing but wolves out there. There's nothing but evil waiting to rob, kill, steal. You've heard me say this on another episode. Ain't nothing but something there to rob, kill, steal, and destroy. It's just for real. Remove the occasion that the holidays brings, and really more or less people use the holidays to do it. See, again, like what church folks did, teaming up with greedy people in Europe, using the Bible. Like they're going to tell people, this is what God's talking about. Nothing's for you and all's for us. You stop it. Really? Yet out of one blood, right? This is Bible verses y'all can look up on your phone. Out of one blood, God made all the nations to live down here. That God has made things for us all to richly enjoy. So how did you get manifest destiny out of that? Allowing yourself to be deceived on a crazy level, like an insanely crazy level. And it makes your witness weak. No wonder no young person wants to go to a church that's looking at this kind of level of hypocrisy, which is why folks need to, this ain't the time to be silencing social media, folks. This is the time for responsibility with social media. Two totally different things. The voice is what you need. They gave you an out, folks, with the media. Lord. They are giving us an out with it. See, again, sometimes what happens in greed is that people don't understand them. So blinded by something, they actually give the tool to bring the balance. They don't realize it. It's like the same thing you see when you watch Star Wars. The oppression part that they did blinded themselves from things like, oh, maybe inside of this little death circle, we need to cover this little hole here because it could blow the whole thing up. So you don't pay attention to the details when you're trying to take everything. And again, life is in balance here. Life is in balance here. Remove the occasion that the holiday brings to be nothing more than just mean girl-like to each other. Uncle this one, that one, and the other. Don't talk to aunt, uncle, mother, brother this one because they just don't like the fact they play PlayStation 5 instead of Xbox, whatever. I'll go backwards in time because a lot of this is an old versus young thing. That they play PlayStation 5 instead of the Xbox. For the video gamers out there. They're okay. I'll get a little more personal. They're okay driving American-made cars instead of non-American-made. Not for nothing. Maybe if you had a native family making cars, maybe we become more American car owners. But I digress. That's the other thing. Everybody talking about how much do we have to keep giving back? How much is enough is enough? So for those who believe, this is what I'm talking about with belief, it gets worse. So for those who believe in God and stuff like that, you got the Bible talking about what you do when you steal from somebody, how much you repaying back. Right? When somebody wrongs you, how much you're supposed to forgive them. Now, again, people got that whole thing with forgive all, and I'm glad I got a chance to talk about it. People got that thing with forgive all messed up, man. You just don't aimlessly go let somebody do something to you again and again and again because you forgave them. That ain't what forgive dealing with. That's talking about like Stephen getting stoned by folks. Lord, forgive them. They know it's not what they do. That's talking about you allowing that burden that would bring you down to bring that back up to the one who can help you. And again, this goes for anybody who believes anything. Buddhists say it a certain way. The Hindus say it a certain way. Everybody says it a different way, all coming back to the same idea. You got to let go of some burdens. Again, in the Bible, it talks about how God's is light. Which is why when everybody talks about all these rules and stuff like that, people don't realize it's actually easy. And it's not because of those words they put in there. No, I'm talking about it's actually easy. You had polyistic. There's another one I'm gonna drop right now for Valentine's Day, but we're just gonna drop it anyway because I got more. You got this polyistic thing going on, right? Everybody tripping on that poly love. Don't you realize that most relationships, not only in Jewish culture but like humanity in general, and again we're talking about like things in the Bible also. Multiple wives, huh? What part of this did people miss? What was it because of the married part, or was we skipped over the poly part and just went to the married things? It was cool because they was married, polyistic. Hey, guess what? Somebody had to get to the dating stage on that one first, so they got married, right? Especially talking about Abraham and Sarah, 2 wives, 2 kids. This also ties into this thing with Palestine and Israel. Which again, folks, just blow over because it's easier looking at something where there's no need for pushback. But the part is to believe in something to the point you can be challenged about it, man. You love this life, you lose it. Do you know who people who love this life, it's easy. You talk about the folks who take it easy. Talk about kids taking it. We talk about taking it easy. You know what's taking it easy? Not giving people opportunities when they are due something. House, job, car, I don't care what it is. That's taking it easy and making them work harder. So they keep showing you how good they are. That's sick. It's the same thing with Jacob. Having to do and hop through all these hoops just to get married, man. I'm just trying to get married. I'm just trying to get a wife out here, man. Like what else do you have me? What Olympics are we in now? Oh man, folks. I don't even know how to man, I don't even know how, guys. But yeah, look to language and the definitions of stuff. I got notes for days, you know. Like that Green Corn Massacre, like that happened up in Mystic, Connecticut. So, again, you had the U.S. Army involved in moving forward. We're just talking about how connected this is. And the more episodes we do, y'all going to see how seriously connected this is. You had the Army moving because they didn't want nobody living in their own place. So down in Florida, in South, right, moved them up to Oklahoma. So this is where you got all your concentration of natives and stuff like that here in Oklahoma. Like today, what? Some of this stuff, the Trail of Tears, the Long Walk, this stuff happened in the mid to late, the mid 30s, late 30s, 1860s. So the 20th century is right around the corner. People use time. So this is what I'm talking about with that Loki TV show. People use time like. It's so disconnected, folks. This thing connects. You don't live solely on your own. Again, you got the creator telling you it's not good for, again, the man, men, people. It's not good for folks to be alone consistently. 365, no, no. It's going to look funky and weird. You're going to come out looking like Robin Williams from Jumanji when them kids first get him, man. Like the beard, go look up images of it for those who are younger. This man, he spent like a good 5-10 minutes having to shave because he had that much body hair everywhere. That's what people look like, man. You can't. So, I mean, this is the fuel, the feedback. That's why I say, y'all who know me, leave me messages, leave me stuff, because this gives me a chance to kind of do more of a focus study on top of the other ones that I do anyway. So I just got lost in my notes here. I'm going to try to make this one shorter than the other two, but I can't promise anything, folks. There is a lot. There is a lot this life is made of, and it takes some time to have to break it down. Fortunately or unfortunately. So again, that note, if you choose to celebrate or not, it's your choice. So we ain't hating over here, okay? This is just showing what's there. You want to take it that way, then I'm hating. That's your own choice. This is about showing what's really going on. And remember that. You eat these things, right? Bible talks about it with communion. You can just down a couple crackers and some juice if you want to, but there's a meaning behind it. Which I'll get into that in the Easter episode. But which, by the way, that one might it probably will be heavily Christian. So for those on here who do not believe in Christianity and stuff like that, I am on purpose going to make it very relatable to y'all, because I am actually very done with this almost elitist idea. Like, see, again, for grace we are saved through faith, not of our own works, so that people don't start boasting. Again, they use that word man. No way. No way. Not from me. You're not going to hear it from me. You guys have a safe haven here. Now, again, of course, yes, do I believe in the principles and the values of Christianity? Like, seriously. Okay? But I've come to see a lot here lately in my life. On the late part of the front nine for those who are golfers. And I'm living my back nine in a whole different light. I'm not feeding into this stuff anymore, folks. I'm not doing it. If y'all decide to, it is what it is. There's no hate here. There's no screw y'all. There's none of that. I would never do that. Because I know everybody's got a choice to do what they want to do. Oh boy. Cranberry sauce, 1606. Cranberries up in Canada, by the way. Introduced to French, up in Canada. So the French, this is what I mean about multiple nations trying to take over these lands. French got Canada sewn up. You go back into your phone and look at the native. Look at the European countries that own this stuff. Starts there. You want to talk about colonialism was good for people? Yeah, no, it was good for Europe. Actually created more problems for them on the back end, but that's normally what greed does. But I digress. No, it was good for Europe. That's who it was good for. All the technologies and stuff people keep boasting about that they dropped off and they gave us, and they wouldn't have been able to survive without it. Don't you understand? All that money went back into Europe's pocket, not the natives. Or who was it good for? Oh man, because you've got colony packs and occupational stuff. They have wrote things in the rules for them to profit off the horror they do, telling you that no, it was great. Oh man. So the Mi'kmaq tribe, if I'm saying this right, of the First Nations people, one of 364, check the word out, recognized tribes. 600. Now natives got wiped off horribly, right? We understand that's the horrors that come after the first Thanksgiving in the early 1600s, and the Thanksgivings after that, where they literally held Thanksgiving dinners for how many savages they killed. Something else you can, what they called savages, natives that they killed. You can look that up online, by the way, right on your phone. Again, redeem the time is another thing that's talked about in the Bible. We need to start doing the stuff, folks, that we got to make up for some stuff we've been doing, all of us. Recognized tribes. So I wonder how many unrecognized. See, because they keep playing with that. That's why don't worry about the TikTok thing. Worry about your government trying to silence your voice. That's what you should be worried about. Not the national security thing. That's the national security part for you. I'm just saying. Again, if they can do it to one thing, they can do it to them all. The point is to be able to have venues to speak easily. No different than folks back in the day going up to the town square, getting a box somewhere, standing on it, was normally a soapbox, right? That's where we get the term from, talking about what's ever going on. You're supposed to be able to talk about what's going on. You're supposed to be able to bring up complaints about what goes on in your home. Again, you can do it respectfully and such. And the idea is that folks are supposed to be listening to you and bringing about resolutions. And when that's not going on, that's where you got to take it higher. It's a real thing, folks. It's where you got to start really looking out for some things. It's where dynamic starts to become very toxic, and that is dangerous. Whether others want to recognize it or not, you got to be able to protect yourself. You got to get good at protecting yourself. And we all got work to do on it. Okay? Nobody has made it. That's why people who sit back and they talk to you like, oh, everything was hunky-dory, they do that with relationships and stuff like that. You know, everything was cool. We never went through anything, blah, 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 blah. They're not being honest with you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You talking two human beings consistently trying to live together. The small percentage of that is very small. People gonna have problems, man. Whether it's somebody snoring, their body odor, the different mannerisms they have. People have problems with folks because folks have what the word is prejudices, prejudgments, judging. They have the ability to judge. Been using it wrongly, but in many cases, they've been using it wrongly. But we mean from the standpoint of, hey, I just don't like that. No, I don't like that your toenails grow that long. It's gross, right? Now, you got to separate that from discrediting that person entirely just because their toenails grow long. How sick would that be? So what you going to do, Thanos snap all the long toenail people? You see why the Avengers had to do something? It's going too far. The idea is nice, but it's done wrongly. See, this is why when they talk about the South and everything, separate and see, the South wasn't wrong, folks. South wasn't wrong. You got to come away from a lot of this mess. The problem is they did it wrongly. The problem is they tried to do and set up an economy on the backs of somebody else by not allowing them to profit. I wonder where else that is found. Which is why I strongly say, folks, the South never lost. That was another war that is a hoax to cover up the sin that was slavery built by greed. Another part where conquering and theft or stealing was used simultaneously. In Canada, to the French settlers, this is the Mikak. My apologies on the pronunciation here. There is a certain way you say it. It's just, I'm kind of trying to learn, get myself there. To the French settlers in Nova Scotia. So again, we up in Canada. In Europe, it's less sweet. This is cranberry sauce we're talking about. In America, it's sweeter. Or, excuse me, in the United States, it's sweeter. Another note here in the 16th century. So again, the 16th century, when you see this thing with centuries, you always go back. You go back like 99 years. So it would be 1501, and then it ends with the number that it begins with in the phrase. So 1600. That's the way Julius Caesar decided to do this. In the 16th century, multiple nations, including Spain and France. Now, again, they occupied not only the Louisiana part of the middle of North America, they also occupied Canada. This is all during this time of Thanksgiving, by the way. They already started taking over. We are so thankful. Really. It's sick. It really is sick. So by the time that you see the Commonwealth of Virginia in 1607 in Jamestown, Thanksgiving 1610, so on and so forth, in history, this thing had already been put into motion. They were like I said, that France was owning Canada and the Louisiana part, other parts down south. I mean, this is where that Creole thing comes from. So. Let me see, did I get? Yeah, I got. The rejection, and so this is where we're going to end because it is the Sunday message. So this is where we're gonna stop here. Just with some verses, just to take. Ain't got to go crazy with it, just to keep in the back of your mind here. Hosea 4:6. You've heard me reference it. I'll reference it a lot because it's a thing of life, even more so than just a thing of belief. People perishing for the lack of knowledge and the rejection of it, and you see it go on consistently. Like, start grasping a hold of some of these things that happened during these holidays. It gives you meaning when you go out dressed up. You know what I'm saying? People could even do, as much as they do with the costumes, which is totally cool, things that like ofertas that are done during the Day of the Dead, where you're remembering the great ancestors that put so much into your life that you miss them so. This is real stuff, connecting with the reality, the world that is beyond. Being thankful for these harvests. Again, a lot of harvest festivals with Halloween. Harvest festivals with Thanksgiving. Thankful you can eat. And again, I like to eat, man. We got to get to the point where we're starting to absorb more, not like news reports and stuff. See, like, and it's cool to keep up with constant things because, again, they are constantly always messing around trying to change the game up, but go backwards. Again, the horrible thing with history, why they don't want it taught and why people have such issues, because they have no idea where they've come from. And it is a true statement. You will not know where you're going unless you know where you've come from. You've got to have a base. You just can't flee. You can't freestyle the whole thing. There's parts of life you're going to definitely freestyle, but it's not going to be the whole thing. There's parts you're going to have to do off the fly. You're going to have to be okay thinking a little bit off, on your feet, as the term goes. But it's not supposed to be everything. You're supposed to be given a foundation to spring off from. This is why when people talk that mess about how hard they worked for stuff, you were given a springboard to come off and then do all you did. The problem is that everybody is not getting that same springboard. That's the issue. Not the hard work you put in. That's secondary. You can't do enough hard work to gain you an opportunity per se. You understand what I'm saying? While people do work hard and their hard work gains them an opportunity, think of it in the reverse. You have to be given the opportunity first. So this is this little play on words. You see what I'm saying about equivocal language? When we speak in this language that we've been given, you can transpose things and throw someone off as a result. So now everybody's thinking that the hard work is the key. The hard work isn't the key. The key is being able to be given the opportunity. With money behind it, folks. With money behind it. A lot of these things with Thanksgiving is the platform for everything that you see today. It's very serious. Looking at fry bread and talking about the long walk there. Where again, the government, and when I say government, I'm talking about the military, aka the Army. One of the older ones up there with the Navy. Because again, Britain had both Army and Navy, and that's who they brought over here when they quote unquote created the United States. You just living off your master's stuff, man. But anyway. It's where you get to the point now where you start to receive knowledge and then go after it. That's what started. That's what's happened with me. You start going after it more. It's not an addiction. It's not going down a rabbit hole. No, you're told to study and find out some stuff to bring glory to God. You got to what do you believe in? See? The defense of the defenseless gives God glory. This is stuff that's talked about in the Bible. See, again, I told y'all. See, this is when we're talking about the Puritans and Pilgrims, folks. Yeah, that thing a little messed up, man. If you do this to the least of these, now we just finished talking about that with stealing. Or we're conquering something you find it's a weakness, something that's considered a fault, less, right? If you do this to the least of these, everybody just brings that down to kids, which kids is part of it. Kids part of it. That's what I'm talking about. The relationship between older to the younger. You're not too young to the old. Old to, while the young does have responsibility there, but we talking specifically the old to the young. That thing gotta get a little bit better. They're not vermin, okay? They're not vermin. You know, on the back half of that, again, we not promoting violence, but we talking about stand up for right. We talking about your words. Start there first, and then go and build from there as is needed in community and all that kind of thing. But you got to start by speaking out first. Anywhere you see where they're cutting off communication, this is a wartime thing. See, again, talking about war, right? Kill off the language. And isn't it funny how people can't speak their own language no more? This is not to promote fear. None of that. This is opportunity to learn. This is opportunities to learn and grow, folks. To really recognize the world around you. So you can help. And next year when you go to the polls, you'll be a little bit more informed. You won't be voting for the same people you'd be voting for. Who cares if it's Donald Trump or Joe Biden when you've got one guy, okay, flooding the nation full of migrants, trying to push everyone else out. And of course, those on the low totem pole, aka black people, would be the first ones to go. But I digress. Or whether it be Donald Trump calling people vermin. As if a liberal, a person who thinks in generous or bounty. Now, again, we understand there's a lot of twistedness with that. Same thing on the conservative side, though, which is why neither one of them has any meaning. It doesn't hold any meaning. It's just how you think. You can go out of control thinking one way or the other. It leads into another group of these, again, talking about the Puritans coming over here. They were the English Protestants that broke away from stuff that was going on with the Roman Catholics and their practices. You remember me talking about that during the Halloween episode. And Anglo-Normans. Now, again, this is around the 16th and 17th century. See, time ain't that far off, folks. We in the 21st. That's only 4 away from the 7th. Why do people act as if, oh, you know, it's like millions? No, we ain't talking the Jurassic period here. This is stuff that's just off the backdrop, man. I'm talking about Arr and Pirates of the Caribbean and everything. Pirates just finished dying off here over the 1500s. What you talking about? People act like it's so far away. So between the 1500s to the 1600s, from the 1600s to the 1700s, over 200 years. You got unrest in the church. Let's see again another one of these verses. If judgment starts in the house of God, these holy places needs to get it in order. And again, they real cool talking about all this other physical stuff. The sex thing, the drug thing, all that. And we forget about this part, though, which is just as physical. Partiality. You're not supposed to be involved in partiality. So when you got stuff going on, again, talking about conquering and stealing, where somebody else is sitting there, putting somebody else down solely because they just don't like them, and you walk on past that mess. Think of the story of the Great Samaritan. Why would Jesus drop that story in the Bible, folks? Brothers and sisters, why would that story be there if it did not hold such serious importance? You see people bleeding and dying. That's not the time to walk by. Did you see anything violent? Did you see the guy fighting off his attackers? The attackers was long gone, folks. But how did he repair the problem? Done by taking the time from his schedule. And again, speaking of he, but that's women too. That's kids too. See, I told y'all play this in your churches. See, if you do study here, spread this thing around. Let the good word out. We all have a task still to do, folks. It's time to make some wrongs off this stuff our ancestors did, do some rights, off the wrongs that our ancestors did here. It's time to be good to people. You got people using the Holy Bible that was doing it the opposite way, man. They was holding people down, stopping people from speaking language. You know, in that same cutscene there from from Yellowstone. That sister minister was saying that she was speaking a devil's tongue. Where have I seen that kind of thing before? You see what I'm saying, guys and gals, about this idea where you think the thing is wrong, but in reality it's not? Yeah, how much do you think? Now, again, if they were doing it with their native language, do you know how much they came out and said these people were devils? They said they were pagan. They weren't pagan. They were living their life. The Bible in Acts talks about how you had God-fearing people back then. God-fearing. And folks like Paul recognized it. And just because you go through the rest of the books here, telling you different things as far as Gentiles and stuff like that goes, we're talking about people who are just not Jews. It's not solely talking about everybody who's just so, soulishly reprobate and blah, 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 blah. That's not what that's talking about. And that's what the people so easily generate themselves to, because it's easy to go that route. See, it would be harder to say that there's more inclusion in the Bible than it's being led on to be. Bring people into your circle that think as you do, that are willing to change. Be equally yoked, not unequally. I know there's something here in yeah. So Ephesians 4. This is just about unity. This is just Peter, notes and letters and stuff like that got out, communication that got out to the church in Ephesus. I'm talking again, Mediterranean area, again, Middle East. People are okay just kind of not putting the two and two together. Of course, he's put in prison. Now, he's not put in prison because he's just a Christian. See, Paul's put in prison because he decided to stand up and talk out, no different than his creator to the void and making the planet, no different than the creator's son to Sadducees and Pharisees. I'm going to say this one too, because I'm going to say it during Easter. Repetition is necessary for growth and learning. You don't build muscles doing 20-pound curls 5 times in 1 month. You build the serious physique that people see over time of the same thing repeated. Again, got to get outside of this culture. You got to get outside of these 4 coasts. Start looking at other nations and how they believe and stuff like that. Remember, I told y'all about apologetics. Apologetics is a serious thing. I got to stop it there, folks. I got to stop it there because I have gone on way too long. My apologies. I love y'all. And as always, look to find the beauty in a different view.